Welcome to Hanging at the Hangar Bar. I'm Scott.
I'm Candace.
I'm Lariah.
And I'm Lacey. Grab a drink and come hang with us at the Hangar Bar.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hanging at the Hangar Bar podcast. We are excited to record today. This is going to be the first of our kind of conversations, and we did a little surprise as we were recording for our first time in the morning. We surprised Lacey and Lariah with some jungle juice mimosas that we're calling POGmosas. For those that know Disney, we all have our pineapple, orange, guava juice and passion fruit. What is it?
Passion fruit, orange, guava.
There it is. The math. Thank you. And we mixed a little bit of prosecco with that, and they're just delicious. So we feel like we're right there in the Polynesian this morning. So we're excited to get the conversation started today. But before we do, reminder to go out and check out our Instagram at Hanging at the Hangar Bar. And on Instagram, you can also find us now on Facebook as well. Same name there. Just search for us and find us on all the social medias, and we'll interact with you. Okay, this morning, let's talk about Disney fans.
Oh boy.
Should be an interesting topic. So there's been a lot of changes at Disney in the last, month and a half. They're coming out of COVID, coming into the 50th. They're rolling out new rides. They're rolling out new services. They're taking some services away. And I think it's bringing out the worst in Disney guests.
I agree.
Well, to be fair, they've been making some pretty extensive changes for the past few years. I mean, specifically, I'm thinking about some of the live entertainment they've taken away. And I mean, Disney is always in a state of change, always. And that's a good thing because it never gets stale, it never gets complacent. I just think maybe they've lost their way just a little bit.
So tell me how they've lost their way.
Well, in my opinion, they are developing parks that revolve around the rides.
Okay.
Rather than rides that enhance the park.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because for me, I could go to a Disney park and not set foot on a single ride and be perfectly happy because I'm there. I don't know if that's always going to be true.
Do you think that is Disney responding to guest feedback, or is it Disney's lost their way?
I'm sure it's responding to guest feedback. I mean, because Walt even said it himself. He never wanted the parks to be done. He never wanted any of that, to be finished. So it might be a little bit of both, but I think the way that they're taking it is kind of like forgetting where they came from, in a way, because it's supposed to be family entertainment.
Honestly, what I think is the issue is that if you look back at, let's say, your parents' generation, your generation, and then me and Lariah's generation. So for us, new movies come out every single weekend. Back when, my mom's generation, a new movie would not come out that quickly. Albums wouldn't come out that quickly. As a society, the I can't think of the word right now, but they are coming out with something new so fast, so rapidly that it's just become what our society is, that we always want that new thing. Like iPhones. How long ago did the first iPhone come out? Not that long ago, and we're already on the 13th? It's just, I think, I don't want to put all the blame on Disney, but I kind of do, because I think some of these companies need to start slowing down that new, and we all as a society need to learn to appreciate what we have. I don't know. That's just my whole thing, is I just think that things come out way too quickly and we're all just wanting something new constantly, and it's overwhelming for everyone. And I don't know. So that's my whole thought on it, and I don't agree with it. I don't, because
Yeah, one of the things that we hear a lot in the business world is the pace of change that you're feeling right now is the slowest you're ever going to feel it again. As technology improves, the rapidity, is that a word? The rapidness of improvement in technology will only get faster.
Right.
So you think about the first iPhone, how it performed. Now you have a supercomputer in your pocket. Going back to like an iPod, like
Right.
the first generation of iPod, that little thing that you couldn't even pick which song. It was, you put music on it and then just had to randomize it.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't, it was impossible to go through that little square thing that you just hooked on your belt.
The Nano.
That's turned into a supercomputer in your pocket. And it's only going to get faster.
Yeah.
And companies almost have to keep up with that.
Right.
Well, and I think there's a lot of competition too, because in Orlando alone, there's Universal, which historically has been a big bad competitor for Disney. And looking at ticket prices and everything else that they've got going, they're pretty much neck and neck. And I mean, Universal and Disney fans or Disney guests are not the same people. I mean, on the Universal side, you've got thrill rides and lots of character stuff. I mean, you've got a flume ride after Popeye. Come on.
That looks like a fun ride.
It does, but who knows who Popeye is anymore? And Dudley Do Right? Come on.
I don't know what you're
See,
talking
there it is.
about.
And then you have things like the Halloween Horror Nights, which is there to scare people. Flip that over to Disney, where you've got a more family feeling, more, not so maybe thrilling rides, but they're still really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got like the Booty You or whatever the heck they're calling it this year, where it's family friendly, it's focused on not being scary. It's very different experiences.
Yeah, and I think, too, thinking Universal and Disney, comparing those two, I think you're spot on with the thrill rides and that kind of thing. But Universal is, I know you're not going to like to hear this, but they're catching up.
They are.
In terms of experience. Like, you look at Diagon Alley.
Yeah.
There's
Diagon
lots.
Alley.
What?
I'm just kidding. Just
It's
quoting
a quote
Harry
from-
Potter.
So you look at that land that encompasses two different parks.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for you to see the whole thing, you have to get tickets to both parks.
Right.
And I've heard people say that that's more immersive than anything at Disney.
But that's my point. Disney has to change quickly to keep up.
Yeah. And so going back to where we kind of were going to go with this episode, that's where your guests' behavior comes in. There is so much. Disney has to change to keep up. And then you end up with guests that are just absolute, pardon my French, dicks.
Well, everybody just kind of acts a little spoiled. It's like
It's an
like,
entitlement issue.
Yeah,
There we go.
it's very like hard to see because I know I act spoiled a lot and like I don't like that feeling though, but like it's just kind of like, especially with Lacey and I's generation, just everything just gets put right in front of our faces. And so we get naturally bored that easily because everything we want is just automatically at our disposal and there's no anticipation, there's no excitement, so you just get naturally bored. So it's like we're really looking at the consumers at this point, like, and would it be the worst thing in the world to just say, hey, can you just wait? We have something really exciting for you. Like, just pause for a second and just look at what you have in front of you.
And with the entitlement piece, I think that kind of goes back to some of the worst behavior that you will see in Disney Park.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people's arguments is, well, I paid $100 to be here today, so I should get to be first in line. I should get to get whatever merch I want. I should be able to get my pretzel before anybody else, whatever the case is. But again, I'll go back to the argument that I have made countless times. You go to Disney expecting perfection because they're so good at it. And if you don't get that, some people will raise 14 kinds of hell, make a huge scene, treat cast members horribly. And it's like, okay, but you have to pay for this perfection. It doesn't just happen. Unfortunately, that's not magic.
And I think part of the issue too is, and again, going back to things that Disney had done, Disney's built that culture itself that everybody who comes into the park has a magical time.
Mm-hmm.
But that means if there's 100,000 people in the park in Magic Kingdom one day, that's 100,000 different definitions of a perfect day.
Yes.
And if you don't get your cheeseburger at 10:30 in the morning from a cart that doesn't serve cheeseburgers, you've just had your perfect day ruined. Because you came in expecting to be able to do whatever you wanted whenever you did it. My problem right now with Disney guests is it's all about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about me spreading the magic to other guests around the park. Like one of the things that I love about Disney is you get to be a part of the magic. That doesn't mean that I need to not, we joke in previous episodes about knocking kids out of the way to get to certain experiences, but that's not what it's about. It's about being in the moment. And Candace, talk about your elevator experience at your College of Knowledge thing that you went
Disney
to.
Institute.
Yeah,
Two
Disney
very
Institute
different
thing.
things.
Yeah, I know. But talk about that and how you were able to make yourself a part of the magic and how it just surprised the people you were with.
So when I was at Disney Institute, we had evenings free because classes were during the day. And one free evening, I decided to go over to Grand Floridian and check out the Enchanted Rose Lounge and have dinner and look at the Christmas tree in the Grand Floridian lobby. And I was like right above the gingerbread house. It was very, very cool. And then I went to Magic Kingdom for a bit. And then on the way back to the Contemporary where I was staying, I got in one of the elevators and I had a I Love Cast Members t-shirt on because I do. Cast members are the magic. Thank you very much. And then I had a celebration pin on because I was at Disney Institute. That's really cool, I thought. So I got on the elevator. There were some people that kind of followed me on, and then we went up a floor and another couple got on, and the gentleman was wearing a happy birthday celebration button. So we rode up in the elevator and they got off a couple floors later. And I said, "Happy birthday, sir." And he just looked at me like, "What?" And then they got off and went on their way. And the other people in the elevator looked at me and they're like, "Do you work here?" I'm like, "Nope, just making some magic."
Yeah.
And they just were like floored by that. Like somebody would reach out and say happy birthday because they don't work there. I'm like, that's not how any of this works. I'm sorry.
Yeah, how easy would it have been to just be ticked off that another couple got onto that elevator, which is, I think, what most guests do. Like, this elevator's crowded now. I'm going to be miserable. Instead of noticing the little details and wishing somebody happy birthday, happy anniversary, whatever their button happens to say, you get to be a part of the magic. And I think we forget that.
Right. And then another piece was when we were doing some field work actually in Magic Kingdom Park, we were with one of our leaders, and he was kind of giving us a story and some history about the windows that are around the top of buildings on Main Street. And he walked by a guest that had a birthday pin on. And like we all had headsets on and he had a microphone on. So he whispered into the microphone that it was her birthday and he was going to count to 3 and we were all going to like say happy birthday. And so we did. And she was, she pretty much burst into tears because she was so like, this whole group of people just said happy birthday. This is the coolest thing ever.
Right.
So that was really cool to be part of that as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. Also, keep in mind, people listening at home, we are in the Midwest and we have a reputation of being nice. So when we go to other places, for the most part, we're pretty friendly people. I know I am. I'm super nice.
Well, if you, when like you're traveling outside of, say, like just Nebraska in general, sometimes we notice there's a noticeable difference between
right, because
like you just like saying, "Oh, excuse me," at the grocery store, and just some people just like walk by and just, which you don't have to obviously, but like,
well, like when you're going for a walk outside here where we live, if you pass somebody, usually you say hello. You just wave and say hi.
Or like just smile. Just
Smile,
give a nice
nod your
smile.
head.
Yeah, it's just like, it's kind of, what we're used to.
Yeah.
But then you go to places like Disney World, where people from all around the world are going there. And it's just shocking to see that a lot of people, which is fine, you don't have to be fake nice or anything, because I feel like a lot of us Midwesterners are pretty fake nice to people. But we just call it being polite. Other people will be like, oh, yep, you're being fake. But we're just trying to be polite. So I think it's just shocking to see certain people behave that way when we're not really used to that. Like, if we see some sort of customer treating an employee, it's like pretty shocking to us. We're like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? But then you go to places like Disney World and you see that all the time. And yeah, I don't know. It's just really sad. And then, like you said, Candace, telling a random stranger happy birthday is just so shocking to people, where I don't think that would be shocking somewhere here in where we live, Someone would just kind of be like, oh, and then like another person probably would chime in and say, oh, happy birthday, like a complete stranger. So
Yeah, we were at a restaurant a couple weeks ago, and a table started singing happy birthday, and the entire restaurant finished the song.
that's awesome.
Just everybody
Yeah.
stopped eating and sang happy birthday to that table. It was surreal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But there again, like the people in the elevator that were like, do you work here? I think that goes back to your point of like pulling yourself out of your bubble
Mhm.
and like noticing things and thinking, well, why would you do that if you didn't have to? I'm like, because I'm a human and I'm decent.
And
Right.
so here's my sermon for today. Be kind, be considerate of other people.
Mm.
An example of that I've seen in Disney. So my first trip to Disney World, I think it was, we went into Mickey's PhilharMagic. And I know you two haven't been on that ride. So when they open up the theater doors, you're just 1,000 people standing in the lobby. They open up the theater doors and you just go down your different aisles. And there's cast members. Move all the way to the end. Make room for everybody else. So Candace and I are good rule followers. So we just went all the way down to the end, knowing there's not a bad seat in the theater. There was a family of, 4 or 5 with a dad, a mom that was embarrassed, and 3 screaming children.
Yeah.
And dad just plunked himself down right in the middle. And the cast member was like, hey, keep moving down. We need to make room for everybody else. No. I paid for this. I am sitting in this seat. I waited in that lobby for 30 minutes. You can't make me move. The customer is always right.
Well.
And so the cast member just kind of rolled her eyes and like went and stood over by the screen by us. And I just leaned in and I said, that customer's not right. And she just smiled and said, yep.
Because that's all she could say.
Yeah.
I mean.
Exactly. And so here's my other business sermon for the day. If you are one who tries to get something by saying the customer is always right, you are wrong.
Oh, for sure.
The customer is always right is a macroeconomic principle that customers as a group are right, not you as an individual. You as an individual can always be wrong.
And 90% of the time are.
Especially if you're saying the customer is always right, you're doing something wrong.
You're throwing a tantrum.
Right.
That's what you're doing.
Right.
By saying that. I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
cast members are humans.
Yeah, don't forget that.
Yeah, they can't
And-
snap their fingers and make something happen. Okay.
Okay.
Well, my
Okay.
point my point is that when you go to Disney and you have all these expectations, you need to ground yourself and realize that we're all humans involved. Even the people at Disney who work there and all of that, they are human beings. And you never know what's going on in their life, and you need to treat them with respect all the time. Because if you go to Disney World and there's no cast members, you are not going to have a great time.
You're not going to Disney World, plain and simple.
Exactly. So you need to appreciate, and sorry, but when you go anywhere, there are rules that you're going to have to follow so that everyone can have a good time. Like you said, Scott, when you go to Disney, it's not just your experience.
There's 100 other 1,000 people in that space.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, but as an empath that takes on everybody's energy, seeing somebody throw a fit and be nasty to a cast member is a real quick way to ruin my day. Because I feel so bad for that cast member. And I'm like, what is going so wrong in your life that you feel okay treating somebody else like that? I mean, I get over it because I'm at Disney, but you know.
Yeah, and the rule, like, when you're attacking cast members, and this happens so often, you have to understand, too, that they are not the ones making those rules.
Yep.
They are enforcing them. Like, through COVID, the stories that I've heard about cast members being forced into a position where they have to enforce a mask mandate to people that are going to throw an absolute fit because they're being asked to put a piece of cloth over their nose. It drives me insane. You screaming at that cast member that my freedom is not going to do anybody any good.
Okay. Preach on.
So, as we're talking about bad behavior in the parks, let's talk a little bit about Disney weirdos and merchandise.
Ugh.
Did you all see any of the news coming out at the 50th, like the first day of the 50th celebration?
I think just of what you had briefly mentioned.
Yeah, so the 50th, I just forgot the name of the shop there on Main Street.
Emporium?
Yeah, the Emporium that goes all the way from the front of the park to the hub, packed with people, shoulder to shoulder to shoulder. There were fist fights breaking out in the Emporium over pieces of merchandise that will be in that store for 18 months.
Why is that necessary?
Well, and here's the thing. Disney has, fans have gotten progressively worse, in my opinion, because they'll go into the merchandise shops, and when they announced the reimagining of Splash Mountain, there's that little gift shop right there. Buy it, of course. But, people were taking armsfuls of the Splash Mountain merchandise because then they can sell it on eBay.
That is so wrong.
So
it's
Disney has
wrong.
now put a limit on 2.
You can't buy, each person can't pick up more than 2 of each.
And
Right.
now people are going to complain about that.
So they
and
do complain
nothing
about it.
can be just whatever.
Right.
Because
why
then
can't you just be a human?
they have to make these rules because people do stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just why?
And people are bypassing that 2 rule because they'll take a group of 10 people into the park and they'll all pick up their allotment of 2 from the money from that one person that wants to sell it on eBay. And it gets worse. So, those little park maps?
Mm-hmm.
They have special 50th anniversary ones that you can pick up now. If you go out to eBay right now and search for Disney World 50th anniversary park maps, you can find where they're trying to sell a pack of 4 for all 4 of the parks for $120. And it will say, hurry soon, only 100 lots left.
And you said those are just given away
Yeah,
freely,
you
right?
just pick those up as you
normal
walk through the park.
That
As you walk into the park. So what they're doing is they're coming through and they're taking as big as their hand will take. They're pulling them out, putting them in their bag, hopping over to Epcot, pulling out as big as they can take, and then selling them on eBay.
You know what I think Disney should do to stop that? They should offer one free if you go online and fill out a survey or something, and they'll mail it to you for free or $1.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That's what I would do.
You want these maps? Just pay us to ship them.
Yep.
Well, and see, I think eventually that's where they're heading. Because with the advent of Genie and Genie Plus and all of that, and even the My Disney Experience app, and we're going to talk about that in a future episode, but they're digitizing everything because think about the money they're going to save on printing, and then that will stop that behavior, hopefully. I mean, I'm sure people will find their way around it because people suck.
Yep.
Frankly.
Yeah, and I just hate that. And you see that, we're talking about it in relation to Disney right now, but overall, people stink. And some of it I think is probably pandemic related. People are tired.
And angry.
And everything is now a political battle.
Ugh.
You can't talk about anything without it being politicized.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just, again, go back to my sermon, be kind. I think, Lacey, you said it. You don't know what somebody's story is. You don't know what their day is. Just be kind to people. It doesn't cost you a damn thing to be kind. It just drives me insane.
So let's talk a little bit about the advent of social media and its effect on Disney specifically and Disney guests. And the reason that I bring that up is because I remember an article that I read several months ago now about a TikTok person, star. I don't know if she's a star or not. She's a TikTok participant.
Influencer.
I don't even know about that, but she's on TikTok. And her suggestion to her followers were, if you purposely wear something inappropriate into a park, like something that shows your taws and, is not...
Talk about the taws.
Thank you. And is not, family appropriate, Disney will give you a voucher to go into one of their gift shops and get a shirt.
I saw that.
And of course, her thing was not, I'm going to go in there and get a $24 t-shirt. No. She went right for the $75 to $80 Spirit jersey. So her suggestion to her followers were, purposely go wear something inappropriate and you can get a free Spirit jersey. Are you freaking kidding me?
Like, I know Disney is very much a luxury. Like, I know I've only been there once. Like, my family just couldn't afford it. That's fine. But, like, I don't know where I'm going with this. But
Like, things are expensive at Disney.
Yes, they are very expensive.
So,
And they've never hidden that fact.
No.
Right.
They're just like, you want it,
No.
come get it.
and
exactly.
they still get so many consumers, like numerous.
Right. And you don't, she's being a con artist is what she's being.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if that's what you want to do it. Go for it. Whatever. But you probably shouldn't influence other people to follow your example, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, with something like that, it maybe worked for her once. Like, she ran into the right cast member on the right day. Because my guess is your condition of entry is if you're not dressed appropriately, they can ask you to leave.
Absolutely they can.
And
And that's
my
in the
guess
fine
is-
print on your ticket.
Yeah, my guess is 95% of the time or more, they're just asking you to leave the park and come back dressed appropriately, not giving you something free. So what you did is you just gave your followers a really good excuse to get kicked out of the park.
Or be really nasty.
Right. Well, this person got a free Spirit jersey out of it. Why aren't you giving that to me as they're being escorted out by security?
Yeah, and I think like a lot of the vloggers and things on YouTube, they're trying to be helpful in making suggestions like, ask for this and ask for this. And if you're nice, ask for this and they'll give it to you and whatever. Stop it. Just stop it. Please. For the love. Stop it.
Just be grateful that you even get to go
Mhm.
to the
Exactly.
parks. A lot of people don't get to go.
No.
Like I said, it's a luxury. Just be grateful that you're even there.
And I mean the cast members again, they're amazing people. Unfortunately, there are limits to what they can do, and it's set forth in rock hard, steady rules.
Yeah. And your point about online, Disney fandom, again, I think it's getting worse as time goes on. And I think this is an advent of like social media as well. So I know I plugged our social medias because it's honestly one of the best ways you can connect with people. It used for good, it's good. But too many people use it for evil because you're a nameless, faceless person behind a keyboard. So if you're on Facebook or Reddit or Twitter and you follow any of the Disney things or even YouTube in the comment sections, it is toxic. Like you cannot, if you express an opinion that is even remotely different, all of a sudden people are calling you names and downvoting you and just trying to make you feel bad. Candace was on Reddit for a while and was posting pictures. Somebody noticed that one of her pictures was like 9 months or a year old. Why are you posting old pictures to this forum? Because I like sharing.
Why are you paying that much attention to it?
Yeah.
Like, why are you so obsessive?
Right.
over that?
Exactly. And that forced her away from that social media platform just because of that experience. People don't understand the impact that their online words have.
Words hurt. I don't care where it comes from. Words are powerful, and you have to be very careful with them.
Yeah.
Especially when it's on the internet. It's on there for good.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a huge problem with social media, and like you said, Scott, it can be good, but it can go south very, very quickly, unfortunately. And like you said, it does become toxic. And that's why I personally avoid a lot of that kind of stuff, is because when I go onto social media, I just want to see what's going on. I want to know about new fun stuff going on. I want to connect with other people that have the same interests in me. I really have no, what do I want to say? My mission when I go on social media is not to fight with someone or anything like that. And I just, it kind of circles back to the whole thing with like privilege, like what you were saying, Lariah, about how when we were growing up, it's like food was on our plate. We didn't know where it came from. Now we have like online shopping. So if you want something, bam, you could get it the next day if you really wanted it, you know?
There's some services where you can get it in the next hour.
That's crazy. You can just get anything you pretty much want right here, right now. And it's then it kind of programs our brain into thinking, oh, I have all this power now. And then some people use that power for evil and
For evil.
well, because then they have like this self-entitlement and they think when they go to places, they think that they're just on top of this mountain and can get whatever they want and treat anybody however they want because they can get whatever they want. You know what I'm saying? And it's just you're not human anymore at that point.
Yeah.
You're somewhere lost in the clouds.
Yep, you're a machine somewhere else that I'm making fun of.
Right. And what's really sad is like I don't know how to explain this, but it's like you're kind of giving into the whole like capitalism part of our country. Like you're kind of a slave to it at that point, you know? So that's my point.
Agreed.
Practice patience. Preaching to myself and our whole group too. Like none of what I'm saying I don't tell myself every day. But just like, practicing patience is
Pack your patient pants.
pack your patient pants. It's very key to just being very grateful and being very appreciative. And I think that's something we all could use.
That's definitely very, very true. Because there is so much that we take for granted every single day that somebody that doesn't have would look at that and think, you are royalty without being royalty.
Mm-hmm.
You have a perfect life. What are you worried about? You have food. You have a place to live. You have a job. You have money. Of some sort. You have family. You have friends. You have a computer that you can run a podcast on.
I agree.
Like, let's take a step back and think, okay, there are people in this world that don't have any of that.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, let's take a turn for the positive as we wrap up this episode.
Okay.
The one thing that I will say is, as much as we've complained about Disney fandom in this episode and kind of encouraging people to be nice, out in the wild, Disney fans are some of the nicest people you will ever meet, on the whole.
Mm-hmm.
And when you sort of talk about being a Disney fan, I don't know if everybody else has this experience, but anytime I tell somebody I'm a Disney fan or I'm a Disney nerd, there's 3 or 4 other people that are like, oh my God, let's talk about Disney. Let's talk, what's your favorite park? What's your favorite this? And it always is a great conversation opener, even if they're not big park people. Even if it's just movies. It's, what's your favorite Disney movie? If you're going to be a Disney fan out in the wild, you have to be a well-rounded Disney fan. Because if you say Disney and you only like The Little Mermaid, you're going to get lost in those conversations really quick.
What?
But we can talk about The Little Mermaid.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Whatever.
Like anything Disney,
We got
we'll
it.
talk
We'll
about
be like,
it.
Yeah.
sure, let's go.
Yeah.
But when we were out to dinner,
Yeah.
what was that, 3 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And the table next to us overheard some of our conversation. They're like, well, we're vacation club members and this, that, and that. And it was like an hour and a half long conversation, and they ended up scooting their table over to be closer to us to talk Disney. And it was...
And they were almost done with their dinner. They hung out
stayed
after their dinner to talk to us about Disney because they could tell our passion for it and we could tell theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when we were planning your first trip.
No, our trip.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it? Were you there for that one too when we did that?
No, she wasn't there, but we were planning that
Okay.
trip. Just us three.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we were talking about like the new rides, like Guardians of the Galaxy and
Right.
stuff like that. That's when he chimed in. He's like, it's being changed to Guardians of the Galaxy, and we were like, oh, hello.
Sure. Come on over.
We don't know you, but come have a conversation.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's fun. So Disney fandom is a fun fandom to be a part of, and I think as good fans, we can take an introspective look and say we need to be better
Mm-hmm.
as a whole. Because I find myself doing that in Disney too. Like when you're in Disney World, something doesn't quite go the way you think it should. Your first instinct is always going to be a little, here we go. But you're in Disney, and I think 99.9% of the people understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, that moment's going to pass really quickly. I don't need to take it off on anybody else. Let's just go have fun. And I think Disney fans are typically pretty good about that.
Mm-hmm. And it's not Disney's fault because somebody else decided to be a jerk.
Right.
Yeah. It's not Disney's fault some lady on a scooter picked up 137 Buzz Lightyears.
Okay, talk about that.
God.
So that was in Epcot, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we were in Epcot, just kind of wandering around, and we were in
Mouse Gears.
Gears, which is now called something
Now
else.
it's the Creation Station.
Yeah. So Mouse Gears before it closed down, and we were just kind of looking at all the merch, seeing what was out there, seeing if there were any souvenirs that we wanted, and there was this lady on a scooter that was standing or sitting by all these Buzz Lightyear dolls or action figures. And so I don't think much of it. She's just kind of tooling around looking at different things. And then I'm standing there with Lariah, and the next thing we see is this lady. She has, 20 or 25 Buzz Lightyears stacked on, like they were stacked around her.
On her lap,
her cart.
on her scooter, in her basket.
Like there had to have been 20 Buzz Lightyears.
They were falling off.
Yeah. She couldn't keep them all on her scooter as she was trying to get to the checkout lane. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to assume positive intent and say she had a lot of grandkids and she wanted them all to have the same toy. The skeptic in me says those went up on eBay the next day for probably $30 more than what she paid for them. And she probably got it, unfortunately.
Or she has an obsession with Buzz Lightyear. Which, I'm sorry, I'm sure he's attractive in a cartoony sort of sense, but...
Maybe she was using them to pose them in different ways and do, like, stop motion animation with them.
That could be.
Maybe she was a creative.
I really want to know her story,
hope
though.
so.
It still bothers me to this day because out of all the toys, Buzz Lightyear, when we went,
There's nothing special going on.
Was the fourth Toy Story coming out or something? Because that's my whole thing is, what was the new movie that came out that year?
I don't remember.
Was
it Frozen 2?
It might have been.
No. Was it Coco or...
No, Coco was already there.
It was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Duh. Okay. 2019.
Candace is going to look.
Was it a live action, you think? Like Lion King
It
or
may
something?
have been. And maybe she just had insider information and knew that they were going to make a Buzz Lightyear movie this year. Have you seen that?
No.
Really?
They're making a Buzz
insider.
Lightyear movie.
Are you
I
serious?
think it's an
Yes.
animated movie.
Isn't it
but-
just called Lightyear or
Yeah,
something?
it's something like that. It's all about, like, the
Mhm.
real Buzz Lightyear.
Okay, Toy Story 4
This is what
did
I'm
come out in 2019.
What did?
Oh.
Toy Story 4.
Okay.
See, I didn't think it did.
I didn't think
So-
it did either, but then that's a clue.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're almost there. That's one clue.
But so did Aladdin the live action and the quote-unquote live action computer-generated animal Lion King.
Oh, yeah, you were right then.
Frozen 2.
real
They
life
released a lot of
computer
movies that
animated.
year.
You can't call it live action because
No.
they're not live.
No.
They're computer generated animals.
They do.
I mean, that would be a
pretty
bloodbath
realistic.
if they were actual real animals trying to. No. Lions don't work that way.
No.
Okay.
Lions will eat the Zazu.
Okay, let's wrap this one up. This was a great conversation. This was fun. Thanks for listening in. And again, I'm going to leave this here. Be kind to each other. Be kind to yourself. Be patient. Pack those patient pants. And remember that there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
See you real soon.